This has been designed to run right before. It answers exactly who Rupert Lowe is, his recent political shifts, and why he felt he had to bypass an entire system, and how he used an unprecedented crowdfunding campaign to crack the entire case open. This is the deepest cut. We're going to take a look at the man behind the Rupert Report. Get ready to be angry. This is Rupert Lowe, MP. Before we dive into the horrific meat of this Rupert Report, we need to talk about the man who broke it. Because the establishment media is going to try to tell and sell you a narrative about who they want you to think he is. They are going to use their favorite buzzwords to try to discredit him, so you don't look at what he actually has uncovered in Great Britain. His name is Rupert Lowe, and he is currently the Member of Parliament for Great Yarmouth. Now, if you track his political trajectory over the last few years, it really tells you everything you need to know about the state of the system in Great Britain. He was originally elected as one of the key Westminster breakthroughs for Nigel Farage's Reform UK Party 2024. But Lowe isn't a guy who just falls in line to collect a political paycheck. No. By early 2025, he had major public fallouts with party leadership over the direction of the movement. They stripped him of the party whip position, forcing him to sit as an independent MP for a full year. But instead of folding, he went completely rogue against the political class. And by summer 2025, that was last summer, he launched a new pressure group called Restore Britain, which officially registered as a brand new political party earlier this year. He is currently sitting as their sole MP in the House of Commons. Well, here is why what he did and why he did it are important. And this is the most crucial piece of the puzzle. For 40 years, successive British governments have launched statutory official inquiries into these grooming gangs we hear so much about. And every single time those official state reports came back sanitized. They used bureaucratic doublespeak. They buried the ethnicity of the perpetrators. They buried the cultural motivations. They protected the high-ranking police chiefs and council members who let these atrocities happen. Lowe realized that the state was never going to investigate itself. He bypassed the entire parliamentary machine instead. And in mid-2025, he launched a massive independent public crowdfunding campaign. He went straight to the British people and said, listen, if the government won't fund a real investigation into this, you fund it. And the public responded by pouring roughly £600,000 into the bank account to back the inquiry. Lowe used that money to hire independent investigators, to provide secure legal protection for the victims, and to bypass every single piece of red tape that the Home Office threw his way. Wow. Why? Why did he do it? Because he knew the establishment was waiting for the clock to run out on these victims. He knew that the system was relying on the public's fear of being called racist or bigoted to keep the lid on the worst institutional failure in modern, perhaps all of British history. When this report dropped this month, the establishment immediately tried to demonize him. Political opponents scrambled to call it a far-right hit piece. But Lowe Lowe did not back down. He went straight to the floor of Parliament and used his parliamentary privilege. And he read aloud the raw and unedited words of the victims directly into the official record so they could never, ever be deleted. And now he's taking the crowdfunding infrastructure and moving it into a private persecution phase. And he wants to put the rapists and their enablers behind bars. Because the public prosecutors won't touch this. And that is the context. That is the man. And now you know who built the hammer. Let's look exactly at what it wants to smash. And this is horrible. And this is going to make you even angrier. Turn the music down. Just sit with it for a second. You feel that anger welling up. It hurts. If you haven't heard about the Rupert Report, go Google it. Stop. Oh my gosh. It is you thought the Epstein files were bad? No, the Epstein files were bad. This is worse. Okay? This is far, far worse. And if you live in Canada and think this doesn't affect you because it's happening in Great Britain, guess what? You are dead wrong. Okay. Like I said, you were warned. I'm going to make you angry. I want you to turn the music down and sit with something for just a second. 250,000 women, girls, and that is not a data glitch. That is 250,000 young working-class girls systematically hunted, traded, and broken across 149 districts in the United Kingdom. MP Rupert Lowe went straight to Westminster with this and read the harrowing survival testimonies directly onto the floor of Parliament because the mainstream press establishment wanted them buried. He read about 12-year-old kids locked in dog cages. He read about young girls being gang raped by hundreds of men over several years. And while it happened, the exact people who were paid to protect these girls, the police department, the social workers, the local counselors, well, they locked their office doors and just looked out the windows. Why? Because they didn't want to cause social friction. Because they were terrified of a word, a single word. 149 districts, 250,000 victims. Let's stop dancing around the vocabulary, shall we? The Lowe Independent Inquiry Report lays it out in stark black and white. These were organized, ethnically and religiously motivated networks consisting primarily of Pakistani Muslim men targeting vulnerable Western girls. The victims testified that their abusers literally used their faith as a tool to break them, chanting prayers before assaults, mocking their crosses, telling them that their God had abandoned them. And for 40 years, if a whistleblower or a victim spoke up, the system didn't arrest the rapists. They threatened the victim with hate speech allegations, and the entire bureaucratic class sacrificed thousands of children on the altar of political correctness just to preserve their own comfort and local electoral blocs. This isn't just negligence. This is institutional complicity. Now look across the ocean. If you think that this is just a British problem, you're blindfolded. You're blind, and you're walking straight into hell. Look at Canada. Look what we've done to our borders and our community standards just over the last few years. We have opened the floodgate to mass, unvetted immigration, breaking our infrastructure and creating massive, untraceable shadow economies where human trafficking thrives. Right now, and I mean right now, along the 401 corridor, kids are disappearing in the trafficking rings every single day. What did the political class do in Canada? Well, they did the exact same thing that Westminster did. They freeze. Our justice system, our media, our leaders are completely paralyzed by the same pathology. If a crime network fits a certain cultural demographic, the cops will treat it with such kid gloves, and the media will sanitize the headlines because they are terrified of social friction. And we are replicating the exact same environment that allowed 250,000 British girls to be assaulted. We are importing the breakdown and we are importing the silence. It has to stop. We have to get angry. We have to get really angry. Okay, listen. Just listen to me for a second. They have conditioned you to be more scared of a label than you are of child torture. They want you looking down at your shoes, worried about your job, how people see you in the community, have you worried about an online mob while the fabric of your society is being torn to shreds. I don't care what they call us. I don't care about weaponized speech laws or the threat of cancellation. When you value politeness over the screams of children, you have surrendered your humanity. My heart breaks for those girls and women in the UK. But you know what? Grief is passive. Fear is passive. It's time to get angry. It's time to demand absolute transparency, absolute vetting, and a complete refusal to compromise on our laws or our children. This is the deepest cut, and I'm Cy Williams, and I will always stand with the victims, no matter how uncomfortable the truth makes you or the establishment feel. Good night.
Look at the opposition. Judy Cox of the Socialist Worker Media Group doesn't want you to believe what she calls Lowe's rape gang lies. She says the 250,000 figure comes from a footnote to a speech given by Malcolm Pearson, Lord of Pearson of Rannoch, to the House of Lords in 2019. Pearson spoke on the 250,000 victims of radical Muslim grooming gangs, which in itself, he said, is probably an underestimate. He continued by saying that because if you take the accepted figure of 1,400 victims in Rotherham alone and extend it across the country, you will come to a much larger figure. Pearson then included the figures from inquiries into sexual exploitation, that's CSE, in Telford and Oxford, then extrapolated them to apply to the whole population of the UK. This is how the number was conceived, she alleges. She also says that Rupert Lowe claims that his new report exposes the true scale of Muslim rape gangs in Britain. In reality, she continues, the Restore Britain Führer, she called him, is cynically using the harrowing testimonies of survivors in a report to promote what she calls a far-right agenda. She goes on to say that the report claims to use academic methodology and held public hearings facilitated by a panel of experts. She didn't think very much of the experts. Lowe says that 250,000 white girls have been raped by primarily Pakistani Muslim men since mass immigration began in the 1950s. He claims it has been previously established that at the very least 250,000 young white girls have been subjected to repeated rape, gang rape, trafficking, torture, pregnancy, forced conversion to Islam, and of course, lifelong trauma. But Judy Cox maintains that this was not a figure for grooming gangs or for Muslim perpetrators or for white victims. It was all an estimate of all the sexually exploited children in the area in the UK. Now, is this a call to arms to protect our children, our wives, our sisters, our mothers, our friends? Or is this, as Judy Cox challenged, nothing more than lies, political ambition, or, nobody's taking into account that none of the people behind the Rupert report have a clue about sexual abuse, she says. But they are, she says, experts in perpetrating Islamophobia. What do you think? I know it doesn't change how angry I am about what's happening in the UK or here in Canada, but I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure you hit like and subscribe to show your support. It means a lot. This is Cy Williams with The Deepest Cut, and I'll see you next time.